All right, so let's get started so that we have plenty of time for both coaches to talk. And guys, when we've done the last couple of these through the pandemic, kind of felt obligated to ask, how are you handling the challenges, the pandemic pauses, kind of a little bit of a downer, to be honest with you. So I want to start on an uplifting note, and that is, what are the things that are going on in your program right now that are giving you a sense of returning to normalcy with your current players, with these signees that you're going to talk about, with these camps, getting out to recruit again eventually, bringing recruits finally onto campus to see the Quealy Center, all of that, and just the positivity that will surround both programs as we get back to normal. Aaron, thanks for joining us. Good evening, and I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think the big thing is just the normalcy encompasses a lot, and I think there's a little bit of chaos that goes into planning your recruiting travel for July, and you forget how much that can be a pain at times, but you're so thankful that you get to go through the process of trying to figure out rental cars. And those of you guys that are trying to plan trips and trying to rent cars these days, it's a little bit of a process now. I think the big thing for us is getting our players back, getting our incoming kids back on campus. It was a weird time that, even though these kids were signed, our incoming kids technically were not allowed on our campus either. So we haven't seen our incoming kids, since, a couple of them for a couple of years now. So I think that's a big thing. We'll have our elite camp this weekend. We'll have about 65, 70 prospects that'll be in here between Friday to Monday. So that's a big deal for us. And this is the first time we get to show off the Quealy Center. I think we forget that none of these players have seen it. And for us, we haven't had a chance to show it off. We're looking forward to that.
Coach Mooney, how about what's happening with the men's program as far as the return to normalcy? I'm sure you'll echo some of the things that Aaron just talked about.
A lot of what Aaron said, and we've had a couple recruits on campus, including Jason Nelson, who will be here in a couple of weeks to start summer school. So it was great to just see their reaction to the Quealy Center, and just how big of a deal it is and how much of a difference we hope that it'll make. But really exciting. Our guys have been here for the most part for May term. This is week 4 of 5, and many, not all of our guys are here. So their workouts have been great, and the weightlifting and all those things have been fun. And so it's just good to have a little bit more of a consistent, everyday, not being tested world to live in.
Absolutely. I think we would all echo that, Chris, for sure. I'm going to throw one question in that came from one of our fans. It's kind of general and it's summer based, and I think it'll give us a good springboard into talking about the recruits and the signees that you're going to get to, and we will show some video highlights of all of them. And the fan asked, what are your off-season goals and areas of focus as you prepare for the 21-22 season? Chris, I'll start with you on that one.
Well, for us, one thing that's always important is getting the new guys acclimated, and just to how demanding a college workout is, how demanding the weightlifting session is, how demanding academics are. So that is always probably the number one thing I think of about the summer is getting the new guys acclimated to how we go about it, what's important at Richmond, how much time and effort they're going to have to spend for each day. And then, more generally in the basketball sense, for us, we have these guys returning. And so, there's a little bit less maybe to learn or to introduce, but setting a tone for what our expectations are and how we're going to try to meet those. We were great defensively 2 years ago, and I think for a variety of reasons, defensively weren't quite as good this past year. And I think that's probably going to be our biggest focus once the second term starts and we have everybody, just improving defensively and making sure that we're gritty enough and tough enough to match our experience and talent.
All right, Aaron, how about for you? Areas of focus and off-season goals for your players?
Yeah, I think a big thing for us has always been this time of year is for that individual development. Not that we're not trying to get better as a team, but we talk a lot between April or the goals between April to June really are to get, bigger, faster, stronger. So it's a lot of stuff in the weight room, a lot of building, getting in with our assistant coaches and with our staff to get in for some individual workouts, maybe not so much putting together 5-on-5 or our offense. I think as we start next week and our freshmen get here, then yeah, like Chris said, you're trying to get them acclimated a little bit, bring them up to speed on what it takes. Everybody that gets to this level was the hardest worker their high school coach had ever seen. And then you get to this point and you realize that, like, hey, there's a different level of a workout. There's a different level of expectation. So I think there is a little bit of that. And, from a basketball standpoint, we were a young team last year. I think we were surprised at what we were able to accomplish defensively, but, a lot of those defensive stops went by the wayside because we didn't rebound very well, and I think that's something that it's a weird to talk about in June and July, to be a rebounding, work on rebounding, but that is something we're going to have to address. And then probably the biggest thing offensively is, we didn't shoot the ball as well as we would have liked last year. And I think we have a great opportunity this year with some kids coming in that shoot the ball very well, and some kids probably hopefully fixing some things. But we are actually moving our line back to the FIBA line, which will be the same line as the men this year. And I think that actually will help us in a lot of ways offensively. But we got to start making some of those.
All right, so if fans happen to pop into the Quealy Center or the Robbins Center in the summer, they'll see a lot of defensive and rebounding work going on between the men's team and the women. Maybe not the most exciting stuff in the world, but fundamentals, right?
We're just happy people are allowed in the building.
Yeah, exactly. All right, good start, guys. Appreciate it. Again, if you've got questions in our Spider audience, use that Q&A feature. You can do that right now. And again, as we're talking back and forth, you can do it. I got a long list of questions as well. So let's get it started. Aaron, why don't you introduce us to your 3 newest Richmond Spiders?
All right, we're starting with our local kid here, Miss Sydney Boone. And I think I'm going to let the video load here a little bit, but really excited about Sydney. These are all highlights from her junior year. Those of you guys that are here locally may know that, Highland Springs being in Henrico did not have winter sports, or at least did not have girls basketball this year. So the last time that Sydney was on the court, she was waiting to play her state championship game her junior year, and they actually were not able to play. So she's coming in here, I guess, as a reigning state champion. She was actually the Richmond Player of the Year as a junior, and give her a hard time that, didn't get a chance to defend that title or that honor this year. But she's somebody that we feel at the point guard spot can give us a lot of speed, athleticism. She still does shoot the ball very well, sets up her teammates, but she's going to be able to play along with Grace or Angel. I think she's somebody that doesn't have to be just the point guard. She can be a little bit more of a combo, or you can look at it, we can play 2 point guards. So she's a high level kid. She had some bigger offers, and we feel very fortunate, very thrilled, coming from a big time program up at Highland Springs and a big time coach up there, to be able to come in here and do what she can do. And we're exceptionally excited about what she's going to bring. Katie Hill, coming out of the Jersey Shore. Katie's somebody that we weirdly have probably known the longest. She's somebody that we made a very, very early offer to when we were up at Bucknell. Never really thought, or we're not as hopeful that that we get a chance to coach her at Bucknell. I thought she was a pretty high level kid, and we feel fortunate to get her at this level. But had a very early relationship with Katie, and I think we're able to maintain that, and she's a high-level basketball player, but also a high-level academic kid. I think the biggest thing for us here is, she was on a very, very good high school program. We mentioned Sydney being a state champion. Same with Katie. Katie's team was probably a top 5, maybe at least top 10, but probably a top 5 team nationally. I don't think she's lost a whole lot of games in her high school career. So looking forward to get that competitor in here. She's a long player. She can defend, but she can play a whole bunch of different positions. She can shoot the basketball, and just a tough kid that you'd expect out of coming out of New Jersey. And then Kayla Williams. Kayla's a unique story in the sense that we talked about how long we've gotten to know Katie from probably her freshman year of high school. This is one of the crazy things about the pandemic. In a lot of ways, Kayla is from about an hour and a half away, 2 hours away, and we have actually never formally met. She's somebody that kind of came into the mix late in the process. or the winter of her junior year, and trying to set up visits, trying to get her here last spring. All of a sudden the pandemic came around, and so she has not been to campus with us. We have not met her in person. So that's a unique thing. It's almost like she's, even though she's from close by, it's almost like she's a foreign recruit, international recruit, in the sense that we have not gotten to meet her live. But she's somebody that she can bang, she can rebound. She's 6'2". But those of y'all that have watched us play, we want everybody capable of shooting the basketball and shooting from three. And even with that line move back, that's not going to hurt Kayla. She's a big time shooter that's really going to help our perimeter game, but also obviously our post defense and rebounding.
Aaron, how do you feel about your roster makeup now? Obviously, you bring in the 3 freshmen, but with the rest of the roster and how you've balanced it out with sophomore, junior, and senior classes, and then recruiting moving forward, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, and I think this was always going to hopefully be a big year for us. I think even when we came into this program, I know that these seniors weren't kids that we necessarily recruited, but I think we were pretty clear in making them our kids right away. And we're at maybe the opposite of what Coach Mooney's got right now. He brought everybody back, and we kind of thought this was our year, that we were going to have this big senior class, and everybody else was going to graduate and kind of move on across the conference. A lot of teams on the women's side at our level had seniors that came back, similar to what our men did. So I think it'll be a very, very high level of basketball on our side in the A10 this year. I think this will be, we'll have a lot of our seniors that are leading us this year, but we always try to make sure that we're complementing back-to-back classes. I think if you're doing this right, your juniors and your seniors are your best players. So we looked at our freshmen this past year, and we think that, they all have been very good years and will be very good players in this league. We wanted to make sure that we meshed, this class of 2021. So Kayla, bringing some perimeter, even though she's a post player, bringing some perimeter skills and maybe some tough nose rebounding in there. Katie being a longer wing, I think she's gonna be able to play a lot of different positions, but she reminds me a little bit of like what Kate Klunkowitz has been for us. And then, with Sydney being able to do what she can do at the point guard spot, but also, like I said earlier, being able to play with Grace, with Angel. I think you're going to see a lot of different combinations for us next year, whether that's 5 quote guards, whether that's 2 point guards, whether that's, maybe non-traditional to what other people would think of. But I think it's going to allow us to play a little bit faster and a little more open this year.
Great stuff. Look like 3 really exciting players. Look forward to seeing them out there. That's for sure. Thanks, Aaron. All right, stand by because we've got questions for you coming here in just a little bit. But let's turn our attention now to the men's program that'll welcome 5 newcomers. And Coach Mooney, if you take it away and introduce the newest Spiders men's basketball players.
Great. So, well, Jason, if you can hold on the video for a second, I would say I was talking to one of our supporters in New York City a few weeks ago when he was asking me about the transfer guys or incoming guys. And I was telling him that, we had the best recruiting class in the country, that we got four players back who have about, each 1,000 points score, about 6,000 points, about 6 all-conference awards. So we're really excited about those guys, which I'm sure we can talk about a little bit later. But we're thrilled for them. And then the guys we have coming in, we feel really good about. Malcolm Dredd is from Washington, D.C. He went to Gonzaga High School, which is the home of one of my favorite players ever, Cedric Lindsey. It's one of the best programs in the country. Malcolm has an older brother that plays at Penn State. Really strong, physically impressive young man. A really hard worker, a physical player who is also skilled and can handle the ball and shoot threes. We're really excited about him. He played for Gonzaga, and then he played for an AAU team called Team Takeover. And they're both probably, if not the best places in the country, the best programs in the country, very, very close to it. So Malcolm has had a ton of success during his high school and AAU career, and comes from a great family with another Division I player. And really thrilled to have him coming down to continue the Gonzaga prep to Richmond trend. Our next guy is from here in Richmond. Jason Nelson played at John Marshall High School. Of course, they didn't have a season this year, but Jason is a really terrific player, really extremely savvy, has a great feel for the game, a great ball handler, decision maker, shot maker. He was the Virginia Player of the Year as a junior. So the Player of the Year in the state of Virginia as a junior, led John Marshall to the state championship. Jason is recovering from a toe injury or surgery, which he was by campus yesterday, so he looks good, but he's still rehabbing his injury to the point where he can play 5-on-5. So he took the calculus AP test today, which is I'm sure pretty daunting. Bob, you remember taking that, I'm sure. And he's a terrific all-around player and young man. So we're thrilled to get another guy from Richmond. I think this is our 7th player from the Richmond area, maybe 8th, including Justin Harper, Darian Brothers, Ryan Butler, Trey Davis. So we're so excited to have a Richmond player again, and one of this, just how impressive he's been as a high school player. So looking forward to Jason being here. Our next guy is AIDAN NOYES. So AIDAN is from Archbishop Moeller High School in Cincinnati. So they've won 3 state championships in his time there. AIDAN is an extremely athletic, bouncy, tall wing, small forward maybe, or shooting guard. But he really has tremendous athleticism and great potential. As I said, he was on a team that's won 3 state championships. Moeller High School, if you remember, had an incredible football program. Now they're tremendous basketball. He started out as a baseball player, started as a sophomore. They're a national power in baseball as well. Was a shortstop, 6'6" shortstop. Talks a little bit about his athleticism, but very bouncy, very talented, long and lean, and we're excited about AIDAN and what he has to offer. Has just had a terrific high school career, and really looking forward to getting him here in a couple of weeks. Marcus Randolph. So Marcus is actually from South Jersey, but he played in the incredibly prestigious Philadelphia Catholic League, probably the best conference in the country. Was a first-team All-Catholic player, which is almost impossible to achieve. But Marcus is a great, really good player. He reminds me a little bit of Nick in terms of he's got a strong body for such a young age. He's a very good shooter, and he plays with a tremendous pace. He's always very in control. He also played on one of the top, at one point, the #1 ranked basketball team in the country, with a player going to UConn, a player going to LaSalle, Marcus coming to Richmond, and another Division I player. But Marcus had a terrific high school career, really good player. I would say, Marcus and Jason, probably the most college-ready players in the class. Now, that could change, obviously, and when they get here, but strong body, under control, very good shooter, and has really accomplished a lot in his time at Archbishop Wood. Our last player that we have for tonight is Liam Weaver. Liam is from Kansas City, so he went to Pembroke Hill High School, which is the rival school of Jacob Gilliard's high school. Jacob has promised not to steal the ball from him on the first day here. I hope he keeps his word there. But Liam, as a lot of our fans know, we really emphasize and stress our walk-on program and the guys who have been walk-ons with us. And Liam had a terrific career. Was an all-state soccer player, and also an all-area basketball player. Really good all-around player, about 6'3", tall, good, strong guard, who we think will just continue our great tradition of walk-ons and basketball players when he gets here.
All right, great stuff from both of you on the new incoming players. Chris, is there a particular school in that greatest high school conference in the country that is the best of all the schools in the greatest high school conference in the country?
Well, Archbishop Ryan has long been a power, Bob, as you know. But yeah, that's actually the Catholic League now has always been great and really terrific right now, especially the top side of it, which Archwood is probably the best team.
Yeah. Okay. Well said. Well put. All right. Again, if you got questions that I don't already have, now's the time to do it. Use the Q&A feature on the Zoom call on the bottom of the call. For both of you guys to start, and I have several questions about this. Aaron, I'll start with you. How have you learned to best utilize the new practice facility?
You know, I think for us, it allows us to have multiple groups in there at the same time. You know, we can have all, you know, we kind of break our kids into 3 position groups. We can have all 3 of those groups in there at the same time. You know, our 3 assistants can be in there working with 3 different individuals. You know, I think also, you know, I don't think this is set up, but I don't think Chris and I are like, hey, from this time to this time, the men are in here. From this time to this time, the women are in here. I think it's really allowed. You got 6, you know, you have 6 baskets that you can use. I mean, I think I've walked through there plenty of times where it's been a couple men's players on one side and women's on the other. I don't know how they figure out which music to play or how that all works, but you know, it just allows that. And I think just for us, scheduling wise, you know, it hasn't forced us to sit down and say, hey, we have to do this, this, and this, or we're in here at these times. If our players walk through and the men are in one side, then they're, you know, we still have the Robins Center as well, and vice versa. So I think it just gives us a lot of options and probably doesn't give our kids a whole lot of excuses to not find time to get shots up.
Chris, can you expand on that? Now, you and I were talking a little bit yesterday. It's not only the baskets and the courts, but the weight room and that facility that is right there adjoining to the courts. Yeah,
the weight room has 2 glass garage doors that are about 12 feet high, and so and then right behind the weight room is the training room. And so, you know, it's a really good feel in there when we're doing a workout with 4 guys or 6 guys, and then some guys are lifting, the garage doors are open, and then a couple of guys like Nick Sherrod, Connor Crabtree are rehabbing. You know, we're all right there. We're so close, rather than some guys being downstairs lifting, you know, how it used to be in the Robins Center, and other guys are across the other side of the Robins Center downstairs in the training room. Everybody's together. So even if we're working on different tasks at that moment, everybody's together. We're in there. We can start almost at the same time, you know, our on-court workouts with our weight room workouts, with the rehab stuff. It's you know, it's just it just gives a great feeling to everything. There's often music there, you know, especially in the off season, there's a lot of music going. So, you know, there's a really good feeling. And when you come in and see it, you can just see the togetherness, and everything's being synchronized pretty well, and how hard guys are working, and it's not lost on anybody because we're all right there.
Hey, can you provide any update on Nick Sherrod and Connor Crabtree?
Yeah, so Nick is, as you would expect, working extremely hard. He's in there twice a day. You know, this is, I don't know if it would be maybe phase 2 or 3 for him. He's really, really working on his cardiovascular so that when he does get the time to start running on the hardwood and things like that, he's in pretty good shape, rather than taxing his cardiovascular. So working really hard. Connor Crabtree is also working hard. Connor is much closer to being cleared, but we're just being extremely cautious, just because the last time when he came back, he had a setback, not the same injury, but had a setback. So we're being extremely cautious and really asking him to take it as deliberately as he possibly can. So at the moment, he's taking Spanish, so that's taking up a lot of his time, a lot of his headspace. So, but he is following that, being very deliberate, and making sure that when he does come back, he can give it a go at 100%.
All right, let me stick with you, Chris, and let's cut to the chase, because I'm sure you know the question that is most popular in this long list of questions, and that is roster management and how you're going to handle rotations and players, and will there be red shirts, and how do you keep everybody happy with what, 20 players on the roster, including what we're calling this year the super seniors.
Right. Yeah, so that definitely is something that we're going to have to work through and talk about and be upfront with our guys. You know, not only are our 4 scholarship seniors returning, but this is the most Richmond thing ever. Our 2 walk-on seniors, Sullivan Cooley and Jordan Gately, are returning to pay their own way for a fifth year. So, you know, there's so much good in that. We're so proud of it and so excited about it. But there does come a point where that's a lot of players to have. And nobody transferred out, which we're thrilled about. And all of our freshmen, incoming freshmen, honored their letters and are coming. So it's all really positive, you know, and then once we get going, it's going to be a little bit, hey, how are we going to do this? So I don't know if any of our freshmen will redshirt. You know, this particular class is in a tough spot because the 4 classes ahead of them have a bonus year. So not only the seniors, but the juniors, sophomores, freshmen all have a bonus year. This class at the moment does not. So I don't know if they'll petition to get one or not, but I think you'll see a lot more redshirting across college basketball. I think probably the percentage of kids who redshirt as freshmen just for, you know, growth and development purposes is far lower than you would imagine. And so I think this year that number will really spike across college basketball. We haven't obviously made any decisions on any of those things yet. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened because, you know, it gets you that extra year that everybody else on the roster has. But it's not something we've looked at yet or talked about yet. And you know, of the 20 players, we have 15 scholarship players, and can only play 5 at a time. And we have some really good ones in the upper class. So it's a good problem to have, but it's certainly something that we're going to have to address throughout the season.
Aaron, how about from your perspective? You didn't have the same thing, but how will that affect, you know, what effect, if any, does that have as you go through the season and your rotation? I think your roster, if I still at 17, if I counted correctly, that's still a pretty large number.
It's a very large number, you know, and I think that's probably one of the bigger rosters out there, except for, you know, when we look across the hall and they've got, I say bigger problem, but like I said, I don't think anybody in the country is feeling too sorry for Coach Mooney with what he's got coming back. But it is, you know, I don't think that's necessarily a summer issue though either. You know, I think for us right now, it's really all about player development. And you know, if people are unhappy in the summer, then something's wrong. You know, I think nobody's upset about playing time. We haven't lost any games. Nothing's going on. Everybody thinks everything is great right now, and so I think that's really the focus. And you know, but you know, as a coach, these are hard decisions, but at the same point, it's competition. You know, and I think that's what, you know, our student athletes understand, that when that time comes, I love you all, but we're not going to have a rotation of 17, you know, and probably not going to be a rotation of 12. And so, yeah, there's some competition here, and hopefully that's what drives you this time of year to get better. You know, I think whatever shows up in November is going to have a lot to do with what we do and how each player handles themselves in the summer. And that's something that we really push. And, you know, it's thankfully for us, it's not a decision that we have to make right now. But we know it's going to be a tough thing to manage 17. It's going to be a probably next to impossible, if not impossible, to keep 17 people happy. And that's just the nature of it. You know, you want really competitive people in your program. Nobody wants to sit there, but hopefully that is something, like I said, that drives them right now.
Hey, Aaron, in addition to the 17 players, your coaching staff stayed intact. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, I think that's something that we're really excited about. And, you know, I think, you know, for better or worse, this is a group that's been together for the last couple of years at Bucknell and into the first couple seasons and 2+ seasons now at Richmond. And that continuity has been huge for us. You know, I think a lot of people running into issues during the COVID thing, I think is tough. You know, for us getting back out on the road, it's a weird thing for us to get back on the road recruiting, but it's kind of old hat for us because we've all done this together for a couple of years.
All right, so to you, Chris, how about taking an opportunity to introduce our audience, verbally at least, to the 2 new coaches that you have on your staff, both of whom have familiarity from different perspectives with the University of Richmond.
Yeah, so we lost Marcus Jenkins, who's been part of Richmond basketball for a long time in 2 different stints, to the University of Minnesota, and Steve Thomas, who was here for the past 6 years to DePaul University. So those guys have had a great impact for us. And then we brought in, well, first from a former coach, from the head coach at George Washington, Maurice Joseph. Maurice was the head coach there for 3 years. Prior to that, I think he was there for 4 years, 2 as an assistant, 2 as an operations. And then last year, he was the assistant coach at George Mason. Mo is somebody that I've long respected and admired and got to know well as he was the head coach at GW. So we're really thrilled that he was, he is very in demand, and we were really thrilled that he was willing to come to Richmond and to add him to our staff. And the other assistant that we've added is Kevin Hovde, who played for us. Kevin is class of 2011, came as a walk-on. He was later given a scholarship, and he came as from the associate head coach position at the University of San Francisco, where he had been for the last 4 years, I believe. So thrilled for those guys, to have those guys, and they've hit the ground running already, and happy to have this new staff working together.
I'm sure they've hit the ground running recruiting style as well. So a couple of specific recruiting questions. Chris, are you actively recruiting a replacement for Grant Golden? And how are we recruiting more power forwards and centers?
Yeah. Well, yes, we're actively recruiting a replacement. We're targeting both those positions, and in the incoming class, there's Jason Nelson, who's a point guard, and then guys who are, small forward, wing players, off guard, depending on how they develop and what the roster looks like. And so this class that we have 2 available scholarships, we're looking at centers and forwards, or bigger forwards. So how we're going to do it, we'll try to do it the same way we found Nathan Kao and Justin Harper and Terry Allen. We'll go out and try to find guys who are tall enough to can play that position, but they're skilled enough to be able to really contribute offensively and help us.
Let me follow up, Aaron, and I think one of you alluded to this, but this was a question, a two-part question, Aaron, for you, and that is, are there things from the pandemic? There's plenty of negative from the pandemic, but were there things from the pandemic from a recruiting standpoint positively that you might continue to implement even when we go back to normal? And is the rest of your roster, this was one of the Q&As we just got as people were listening, is the rest of the roster eligible for that extra season, or is it just the seniors?
Yeah, so I think the difference moving forward, so this year, everybody that was on the roster last year gets that extra year, as Chris talked about. For this year, for the seniors that decide to stay, they don't have to they don't have to fall under your scholarship limit. And I guess what I mean by that, for us, we get 15 scholarships. If we had seniors that were staying here and that put us at 17, that would be okay for this year. However, moving forward, each of our players does have that extra year, but we do have to fall under our limit. For Chris, that would be under 13. For us, it would be under 15. So it's going to be, there's going to be some decisions for the student athletes, both here and other places, but there's also going to be some roster management. And I think that kind of goes into the recruiting question that you were kind of poking at right there, that, there's, I hate to say recruiting of your current players, but as you're looking, it used to be that, hey, if you're graduating 4 kids, you had 4 scholarships to give. Now you might need to think about, maybe you have some current players that are talk to you about staying around an extra year. We haven't really done this a ton, but the transfer market out there, I would imagine, as much as people say it was crazy this year, I don't think it was crazy for either of our 2 programs this year. But I think that's something, when you talk about everybody having an extra year, that transfer portal could get rather interesting. But yeah, I mean, going back to the first part of it, Bob, I don't think anybody's leaving this saying, I can't wait to go do some more Zoom calls. But I think for us, from a recruiting standpoint, some of those times where it's just gotten a little bit more acceptable to maybe do a Zoom call or a Zoom family visit, almost like an in-home visit over Zoom. I think that's something that used to be, you were traveling, you were sitting in somebody's home, you're trying to find time to do that and finding travel to do that. This year, it could be, hey, we might have finished up practice here, and then our staff is in here doing, quote, an in-home visit with one of our players or one of our recruits there. So I think that will still be a big thing. I think everybody's kind of maybe zoomed out, but at least we're all comfortable doing a Zoom. So our staff can sit there talking with a recruit and her parents in Boise, Idaho, when maybe that would be a tough thing to do before. I don't think we have any kids from Boise, so I don't think our compliance should be upset about using that. But I think
I know too many people from Boise, let alone
from Boise.
And
I think the other thing too is just being able to, it's not the best to evaluate a kid over video, but I think we've been able to do that a little bit more and maybe get a little bit better at it. But also I think, student athletes, potential student athletes are sending those maybe a little bit more. More people are filming what they're doing.
Chris, thoughts on that? What might stick around that was born out of necessity of the pandemic?
Yeah, hopefully nothing, Bob. I'm deleting Zoom after this one, and hopefully nothing sticks around, to be honest.
More power to you. Remote broadcasts will go the way of Zoom
right.
also, by the way, if you ask me. All right, Chris, what was your feeling when you realized that you had 6 players returning who had already graduated and opted to come back to the Richmond Spiders?
Well, emotional. We were, we hadn't talked to the guys not one time about it during the course of the year, and I'm sure they had seen the rule. I think it was announced maybe in October or November. And I thought that maybe it would be a possibility, just given, how things were going to be set up for the year with no fans and with, some difficulties and challenges. But each guy that came in and talked to me, I mean, it was emotional. I mean, there are, on the men's side, there are over 1,600 players in the transfer portal. So for 4 of our guys who could, go anywhere in the country as a super senior or graduates transfer, for them to choose to come to Richmond is incredible. I mean, it just speaks a lot to the university and to the program and each other and how they feel about the place. So I was really emotional and extremely proud and humbled and excited to kind of get started.
All right, we have 10 or 15 minutes. Again, if you've got other questions, the Q&A is available for you. Still got a few to go here on the list that were pre-submitted. Another popular one for both of you, to the extent that you can talk about it, where's your schedule right now? We're on June 9th. You still got some time here, but if you can speak to the schedule. Chris, I'll start with you on that one.
Yeah, so right now we have, I think last week announced a game. We're going to play NC State in Charlotte, where the Hornets play. I believe it's called the Spectrum. So that's an exciting game. I believe December 17th. We are working hard on our what's called a multiple team event, your MTE, where we've played Kentucky and Wisconsin and Auburn a couple years ago. Working hard on finalizing something for that. So I can't speak to that one yet. We skipped Old Dominion, or we didn't play Old Dominion last year because of the schedule crunch. We have Old Dominion at home. We signed a home and home with Toledo, who we played in the NIT, starting at the Robins Center. We are returning a game to Wofford that we scheduled last year to fill in for a game. And then we have a couple to announce that aren't quite ready to announce yet. So, which are very good games and exciting games, and hopefully this MTE, we can finalize the deal and we'll be able to announce that soon, because that has the potential to be a very good tournament for us.
Hey, did the return of the 4 players impact your philosophy and thinking on who you were going to schedule this year?
Oh, for sure. We're calling everybody and have offered to play everybody. And, you have to, be, you have to schedule extremely high or extremely hard, because as the season goes on, the schools in the Big Ten and the SEC and the ACC, they're playing all what are called quad 1 and quad 2 games. They don't even play a quad 3 game, even at home late in the season against the last place team. If the ACC last place team is playing at Duke, that's probably still a quad 2 game for Duke. And so it's just really hard to compete with that. And so in your non-conference, you really have to try to schedule the very best teams you can, especially when you have a team like we do, who feels like we can compete with anybody. So that did change it. We've always tried to play a really challenging schedule, but I think we're trying to play the best possible schedule in the country.
Aaron, how about for the women's side? You've got a couple of years under your belt now of scheduling around an A10 schedule. How about the prospects moving forward for the women's schedule?
Yeah, I don't think the A10 has formally announced our opponents yet, but I think we're getting back to normal. I know last year we did the Friday, Sunday, and the travel partners thing. We'll be back to essentially one midweek game and then a weekend game during conference play. I would imagine those will those will get announced here somewhat soon. But I think what we're really excited about is, when you start to look at it and start to look at what that poll is going to look like, a lot of the top teams and just about all the top teams in the league are going to be here at the Robins Center this year. So maybe that's a plug for season tickets right there. But I think similar to Chris, I know we're at a different spot with our program, but we want to go challenge ourselves. I think that's important for recruiting, that they're seeing that you're going out there and challenging yourself. So we're going to, and also some fun destinations. I think we're going to end up down in Florida for a tournament, and also another tournament at a BCS opponent, an ACC school that I think the contract maybe just came through today, so I don't want to get in trouble by fully announcing that. But to see some BCS schools, to get some trips out there in our non-conference portion, and then to be honest, I think last year kind of threw a loop to maybe both teams, but all of a sudden now you kind of have to return some games that maybe you didn't necessarily wouldn't have put on your schedule otherwise, that you're going back to return to. And then the other side of that, believe it or not, I know we're in year 3, but we're still, quote, paying back some of the schools from before that we had agreements with before we got here. So I think it's a challenge. I think for different reasons, scheduling is really, really hard, as I think both of our staffs can attest to.
A couple more. Aaron, what do you think that first night or first day is going to be like when you're back playing in the Robins Center and you have a normal environment and a normal crowd, which you didn't have at all last year?
I guess it depends on how many of these people on the call are going to be in the Robins Center that night.
They'll all be here. I'm sure they're all going to be here. It's getting the rest of them. It's getting the rest of them.
It was odd this year, and I think that's something that, I think like all of us and maybe the players will say the same thing. Once you get going in a game, maybe you're not necessarily thinking about it, but, you also just never got that boost from last year, during home games, whether it's, momentum swings the other way and, all of a sudden, maybe instead of calling a timeout, you don't need to do that because you're in your home arena. So I think the boost that we missed this year during the home games, I think will be huge for us. There's just an excitement, there's just and I really think for as much as when we were putting together the schedule, you didn't know what it was going to look like. I get the sense that people are more than excited to get back into arenas and into stadiums. You looked at what some of the NBA playoff games right now. I mean, people are falling all over themselves. It's an awesome, to see the Knicks playoff game. That was incredible. The Women's College World Series, the softball thing right now. I mean, it's stocked full with people, and seeing that excitement, I can't imagine it's not going to still be that same excitement when we get going here in the winter.
We want them loud and we want them there, but we don't want them acting like some of those NBA fans. Let's put right, Chris, Philly. We
Sure.
had one little minor incident there as well. Chris, what do you think it'll be like when you're back in the Robins Center and you've got a normal atmosphere and a normal crowd going?
Yeah, it'll be electric. We've been putting together a lot of videos here over the last few weeks for these recruits, and so 90% of the highlights that we're putting together are games that are from 2 years ago or longer because there were crowds, and even some highlight plays by Jacob or Tyler Burton or Nate, it just loses something without the crowd in the background, and so. The last game I think we played in the Robins Center with fans was against Davidson on a midweek game, and it was one of the best crowds and best atmospheres we've had since I've been here. And I think it'll be like that. I think people will be excited to be back. Certainly a very familiar group and a group that's really worth cheering on, and some all-time favorites like Nick and Jacob and Grant, and so. I think it'll be electric, and we really can't wait.
All right. A couple here that I don't know if you'll be able to answer, either one of you, so I'm going to throw them out there, and if we can't, we'll get answers for them. This one, again, some of this is guideline related, but Aaron and Chris, question came, are summer workouts open to the public? Since we missed a whole season, and I know both of you have from time to time let folks come in to watch practice sessions, do you expect any of the summer workouts they could pop their head in? Any thought on that, either one of you?
Well, we've generally had pretty open workouts. I think it's a little harder to get in the Quealy. Well, it used to be when I was first here, it was very easy to get in the Robins Center. I think the kids across the street had a league they had on Tuesdays and Thursday nights, but it's a little harder to get in now because of all the COVID stuff. But yeah, our workouts have generally been open, so we're fine if people come in and watch.
Aaron, anything from the
Same
women's?
here. Nope. We pride ourselves on having open workouts, open practices. You know, if you can get in the building, I'm not kicking you out. You know, and if I can help you get in the building, I'm going to do that. I just don't know what our policies are right now with regard to visitors. I think that's, like you said, that's something maybe above us, but I'm not playing policeman.
And follow-up question, actually from the same fan: would season ticket holders at all be allowed to get a tour of the Quealy Center? And again, this may not be in your domain, but I figured I'd throw it out there in case it had been discussed amongst you and John Hart or David Walsh or any of the administrators.
Yeah, I think we were. I think that was planned. You know, the kind of long-term plan of the Quealy Center. You know, an opening, and then certain season ticket holders or groups come by and have a tour. So I'm pretty sure we'll do that. I know David Walsh had talked about that, and that was definitely in the plans before everything was disrupted. So we'd be happy to do that. I mean, it's something really worth showing off, and you know, we've had open practices leading up to, you know, maybe on a football Saturday, leading up to the season in the past, and we could certainly include a tour of the Quealy Center on that. Would be happy to show everyone.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans would certainly be excited about that. All right, we only got a couple minutes. I'm going to finish with a couple of fun questions, and these didn't come from me. You know, I don't ask fun questions. I just ask serious questions. These are fun questions from a couple of our fans. This one's kind of addressed to Coach Mooney, but Aaron, feel free to chime in on this. Fan says, I've always been a big fan of your pocket square game, but you can't wear a pocket square without wearing a sport coat. Can both of you coaches please assure me that coaches and staffs will return to wearing coats and slacks or suits? What say you, coaches?
I would say we're going to. You know, my coaches don't know that yet, but we're about to have a recruit dinner. Maybe I can come and tell them. But yeah, we would. You know, I talked to Coach Rhodes about that the other day. You know, our boys were playing AAU, and you know, he's in the camp of staying with sweats and golf shirts. But I really think it'll be up to the coach, but I think the majority of coaches will go back to you know, more formal sport coat, tie, or suit, or you know, sport coat and no tie.
Aaron, what's your fashion like?
I lost the battle with our staff. I tried to stay strong. I think we wore a suit maybe the first couple games anyway. I know we wore it at VCU this year, just to be honest with you, try to get back to some normalcy. So I think there's, you know, we talked about the electric fans, atmosphere with the fans. I'd like to get back to feeling normal. So I think that's going to be my vote. I think I know what my assistants and the staff vote's going to be. And I think it's pretty similar to Chris's staff, but you know, I like to consider myself flexible, but I'm pushing for the full suit.
Nice. All right. Well, you made one fan very happy. I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
I can't wait to see you that way. All right. So speaking of the staffs, here's the last question again from one of our fans. Which coach is the best player still in a game of one-on-one? And I guess you could include yourself in that, coaches.
Did you say still, or is this a career thing?
It said which coach is still the best player one-on-one? Well,
for our staff, I will say, I mean, we talk with our players about trying to make sure we have that swagger and confidence. So I'm gonna put myself up there right now. I don't know if anybody else would, but I can't sit up here and give that award to anybody else. Brittany played at VCU, so we can't give her any credit for that. That she can't take the cake. Darren's jump shot's sweet. He's got a very, very good jump shot. But honestly, I mean, Coach Radice, I mean, she's they call her JJ. That jumper's pretty sweet. She's the only Hall of Famer on staff. I think she's maybe, if not the leading scorer at Fordham, the second leading scorer in Fordham history. Her wall, or her pictures up on the wall, whole mural up on the wall, I think, up at Fordham. So I'd hear about it too much from her if I didn't give that award to Coach Radice.
Nice. Coach Mooney?
Well, you know, age has to come into play here, Bob. And I'm just about to turn 30, so I'm getting a little older. Now, Maurice,
how's that calculus there? How's that calculus class coming on that one, Chris?
Maurice Joseph was, played at Michigan State for 2 years and transferred. Was a great player at Vermont. I mean, Kevin Hovde's significantly younger. I'd probably say, and he would love to hear this. I'd probably say Hovde. I'm gonna say Kevin Hovde's the best one. Former Spider.
Part of the recruiting process to bring him back.
That's right. That's right.
The first draft pick in the one-on-one tournament. All right, fellas, this was a lot of fun. Thank you to our fans for the questions. You guys really made it with your interaction for Coach Moody and Coach Russell. Congratulations on what looked like great recruiting classes, and you've obviously got us all pumped up for Spider basketball back in the Robins Center this fall. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
And thanks to everyone out there for being with us and tuning in. We'll have more information on our website on season ticket renewals in July. And don't forget the camp information. If you got boys and girls that want to go to summer camp, no better place to be than at Richmond with Coach Mooney and Coach Russell and their summer camps. Stay in touch with us. And of course, stay in touch with Spider Athletics. Thanks, everyone. Good night.